felt Navy SEAL shit, dude.
Some tier 1 operator shit.
They really, this is...
Look, this was a great transition into some shit I wanted to talk about that this fucking asshole Andrew Huberman said on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Talking
recently.
about operators?
Yeah, so this motherfucker, no shit, he says with a straight face, he's like, look, I do some work with... here's the thing about professional athletes. He's like, if you try and tell them about, like, you know, discipline or some, like, good mental health tactics, stuff like that, they don't even listen to you. They don't want to hear about it. He's like, you have to tell them about stuff that they only respect tier 1 operators in the military.
If you... Oh, wait.
I was
He's like, there's no one that an athlete respects more than a Navy
than a
SEAL.
tier 1 op. Yeah.
He's Michael Jordan's hero, the Green Berets.
He's like, yeah. He's like, they don't want to hear anything unless it's from a tier 1 operator. He's like, who, you know, things like that, like going on sleep schedules that are not up to them, possibly dying in the line of duty, like, you know, operating on schedules that would just melt anyone else. He's like, that's the sort of person they respect and want to hear about. No, but that's all. That's it. And he's like, so you have to phrase everything when you're working with them, and like, this is what tier 1 operators. He kept saying tier 1 operators. Dude, fuck you, Andrew Huberman.
It would be so
fuck
funny
you.
to be. I'm like, well, I'm actually a tier 3 operator, but in a couple of years, I think that my coach is gonna make me a tier 1 operator.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Also, I want to know what athletes he's talking to, because if it's like I work with many NBA players, and I wonder if they're legit, like, damn, if the Navy SEALs, like, if they're actually, there's no.
He is a
what the fuck is he talking
neuroscientist.
about?
What the fuck is he doing for the NBA?
He's therapist to the stars
He's
or something.
supposedly a neuroscientist. He's allegedly a neuroscientist.
We should look up his papers.
God, fuck him.
He has to have research if he's an academic. So the funny thing is, though, even if he is
who gives
one
a
of
shit?
the best, you know, neuroscientists, yeah, the things like the Instagram shit that I see from him is like as mindless as like the Gary Vaynerchuk's shit, or where he's like, I wish that all of you would just picture right now that your whole family was fucking dead.
Yeah.
He's like, I would rather my whole family get murdered in front of me than not be on the grind every day.
God.
Or so, like he'll say, it's just like,
It's
what?
also, it's like in all caps. It'll be like, if you don't handwrite shit, you're not, like, you're fucking up because you're not going to remember it as well. The science is clear.
Andrew Huberman.
Handwriting. Yeah. And this is the other thing that I was just couldn't believe my ears. I was listening is he was like trying to break down. He's like, look, I've got some insight onto like why Epstein was hanging out with scientists a lot. And because I think it was just like Rogan was just casually like, yeah, why do you think he was doing that? Like, what was that about? And this guy was like, look, this thing about Epstein, he had social engineering down to a just to
Andrew
a detail.
Huberman is saying this?
Yes, Andrew Huberman is like, he's like, Epstein had social engineering down. He knew how to manipulate these scientists, and he was like, he knew the value, how easily people can be manipulated, and he was doing that in that community. And
to what end?
He didn't have. He could. Of course, he has no fucking like point or like where he's going with it or anything like that.
What is he manipulating them? Manipulation implies that there's like something happening there.
Yeah, and he was like, these scientists, they were doing it because he was giving them grant money. And he's like, I don't think anyone understands how hard it is to get funding.
Like he
for
was
stuff.
engineering them
So,
into hanging out with him?
I don't know. And Rogan was like, do you think maybe he was doing it to like get blackmail stuff on them? Like to have them hang out with underage girls and then so he'd have some. And the guy was like, no, I mean, they're just trying to get. And he was like totally discounting that. He was just like, no, it's about like trying to get money for their science part. He's like, here's the thing about scientists. You know, they're a lot like, what the fuck did he say? It was like, so they're a lot like comedians. They're a lot like comedians. They're working on their craft. They just want to work. Scientists just want to work.
Anybody.
He's like, scientists just want to work on their craft. A real dyed-in-the-wool scientist, that's all they care about. So anything they have to do to get more money to work on their craft,
they will
they're
suck
gonna
dick.
do.
They will. They will prostitute themselves so they can get grant money to find out why.
Suck you, fuck you, whatever they got to do. Rape a 14-year-old
Jesus
girl.
Christ. Yeah, I've like listened to podcasts before about some of the Epstein stuff and like the people that he would have around, but it's I don't.
Andrew Huberman doesn't have any insight into this shit.
But whatever, yeah, like I don't know. The whole also people like post-mortem being like, he was a great social engineer.
What are they talking about?
Why? I don't understand necessarily what they're claiming about him. Like he's maybe he was just a cool fucking guy to hang out with.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that. It kind of seems like everyone enjoyed hanging out with him.
It appears
because
that way, and maybe not even the underage. It's not like he's like just sniffed out all the pedophiles or something. He's
right.
like maybe he's just partying with these dudes, like people who didn't go on his jet. I don't know. Maybe they went to his island and there was no bitches there.
I don't know.
They're just like he's like, check out, I've got an island. Maybe he was just a cool guy to hang out with.
Yeah,
people seem to like him.
Like rich, beautiful people all hang out with each other. You know what I mean?
And
do
like
shit together.
Like money guy or whatever, right? Like he would just like it was like an investment dude.
I don't know. All I know is that he was probably not a brilliant social engineer trying to like work to some mysterious end in the science community. To do what? You know what I mean? Like to accomplish what?
What was he getting from having these contacts?
I don't know, man. But it was just that, and then the fucking. But I couldn't believe when he was like. I mean, this is just from a 6-minute clip from that. I mean, there's 2 hours and 45 minutes more material, I'm sure. That's just absolutely outrageous.
Was this recently?
Yeah, it was like this last week. I think he went on.
He's kind of becoming a star.
He's blowing up. I'm
seeing a lot more, and maybe it's just the algorithm being like, you watched that whole clip because you I have to hear what he's got to say. I actually don't get fed a ton. I think it's because you send me the things and you're like, what the fuck is he talking about?
God, every time he's like, the science is clear. It's the meta studies are in. The science is clear. It's uncontroversial. Getting at least 8 hours of sleep a night is important.
Yeah. That's incredible content.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much, neuroscientist. Dude, I've been trying to get by on 3 this whole time. Been wondering why I feel like shit.
Let's look up what is the definition? What do neuroscientists like on a day-to-day? What they're studying.
Yeah. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Because the other neuroscientist that's kind of what do neuroscientists do? Sam Harris. And that man is also a guy who will just say the most batshit stuff.
Oh, so they hate Muslims.
They focus on the brain and its impact on behavior and cognitive functions. Not only is neuroscience concerned with the normal functioning of the nervous system, but also what happens to the nervous system when people have neurological, psychiatric, and neurodevelopmental disorders. So this
is kind of sounding a little sociology-esque to me. This is sounding like some soft science shit. If you're not cutting apart a fucking brain and seeing what it does, I don't understand what you're doing.
Well, it sounds like an actual neuroscience. They do like studies on brain, spine, and the nervous system, and they have clinical trials, experiments. I wonder, but this is like medical stuff. This isn't like psychology.
Yeah.
And he seems when he's talking about like it's like, what does this have to do with your expertise?
Nothing he talks about is in his wheelhouse. He's like, look, the studies are clear. The science is in. The meta studies, they're clear. Don't put your phone in your front pocket. You'll be sterile.
Their work bridges the disciplines of mathematics, linguistics, engineering, computer science, chemistry, biology, philosophy, psychology, and medicine. All of those things? Yeah, this is starting to sound like a bullshit degree.
Oh, fuck him. This Nicholas Flamel ass.
There are
fucking alchemists.
There are different branches, I guess. Generally, so there's effective neuroscience where they look at they do lab tests on animals and look at how
it's
neurons
actually called
behave.
Effective neuroscience.
And affective, AFF.
Oh, okay.
So there's like they're studying electrical impulses, chemical signals. Okay, so that one
That sounds scientific.
somewhat legit.
Yeah, that sounds like, hey, let's get to the bottom of how the brain works.
Behavioral neuroscience. Okay, this one's obviously bullshit.
Yeah.
Study of the biological basis of behavior and how the brain affects behavior.
Oh yeah, full of shit.
There's cellular. Okay. Oh, and clinical neuroscience is the branch of neuroscience concerned with the cause and treatment of diseases and disorders of the brain and the nervous system. So those are, people that are designing medications and stuff.
Sounds very legit. Yeah, whatever he's doing, not legit. Which is why he's a famous person. He's a famous star because he's one of these people that cannot say, they can talk for 2 hours and not say one goddamn thing that we don't already know.
I wonder where he's done, because there's some of these branches that are for sure just like, this one's just cultural neuroscience. This field observes how beliefs, practices, and cultural values are shaped by and shape the brain, mind, and genes over different periods.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, well, regardless, whatever he did study in that, he is kind of turning into one of these.
He's just another one of these Jocko Willink fucking.
Yeah, like alpha brain.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, just like
Brendan Schaub.
I'm trying to help young men in this country or whatever.
Jordan Peterson. Another Jordan Peterson.
He's going to be, because he's got academic credentials, and then he's just been making comment that's like for the the Joe Rogan crowd or whatever, the people who like eat that shit up. That's like and they'll just start getting way out of their wheelhouse.
Fucking
and
pseudo scientific.
Like when Jordan Peterson talks about literally anything, other than, I haven't seen much of his academic shit, his lectures, although he does say some batshit in there too.
Yeah.
That I have seen, but he, like when he talks about like the Bible, this man is incorrect at every level.
Yeah, he doesn't even. He's clearly hasn't read the Bible. Like,
well, that's the thing. That when he brings it up in that like incredible Joe Rogan clip, where he's just it's word salad nonsense about the Bible, and that was all spurred on by not him reading it, not him study. He went to like
the Bible museum. He went to a museum about the Bible.
And then suddenly he's like, "Did you know actually that the Bible's the most important thing on the planet?" Because I went to a museum yesterday.
He's like, "It's really the first book. It's the first book."
Everything he's saying is so wrong.
And Joe Rogan's like, "What? Yeah, what are
you
talking about?"
It's hard to see these guys like Jocko Willink is like a Navy SEAL. Like he's a
tier 1 operator.
He's a tier. But people are just like,
so NBA guys.
They're like Jocko. I was watching Jocko, and he's I know everything about investing.
Yeah. Yes.
So like it'll be like like that's the type of content that these people fall into. Once they can get a little bit of like Instagram clout or whatever, it doesn't matter what they were an expert in. They get one episode on Joe Rogan, and all of a sudden their Instagram, they're like, guys, I have under good authority can tell you, NFTs are a good investment.
Yeah, they're like, look, I have my own coming out soon. I'm excited about my new NFT project.
So I just, people just need to realize that a lot of these dudes, I don't know, I had professors that were fucking PhDs and had written textbooks and shit in college, and if they opened their mouth about literally anything unrelated to that, they were the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like just because someone has done specific research in an area that they should be trusted for anything else.
Here's some advice to young men, any young men that may be watching this. Make a couple fucking friends, and then you guys together hash shit out amongst yourselves of what you think about stuff, and you will get to some better conclusions than fucking Andrew Huberman.
Andrew Huberman.
I see that motherfucker. It's on site. It's on site, Andrew Huberman. I see you in the fucking street.
I just can't get over the idea that athletes, the only person that an athlete will respect is a tier 1 operator.
What the fuck is he talking about?
That's incredible.
I couldn't believe it as I was hearing it.
In like one of these mind coaching sessions. Oh, yeah. Also, what is the context that he's speaking to these?
He's not a tier 1 operator. It's
Is
not
he
like
a therapist?
I don't know.
How is he?
All he'll say is, "I'm doing some work for them," which is how you know someone's full of shit. If they can't tell you what they're doing
Behind the scenes, he's like giving them advice on basketball. Or
he
on
doesn't
football.
play basketball. He's not in the military.
Is he coaching their mindset? He's like, I'm trying to. He's helping athletes develop a grind set.
Yeah. He's like, look, you want to make these fucking free throws.
He's helping them with their Sigma grind.
Yeah, they're
set.
like, Markelle Fultz, we heard you've been having some problems with your free throws. I thought we should bring in Andrew Huberman to talk to you about some shit. Are you going to help fucking LeBron improve his 3-point game, Andrew Huberman? What the fuck are you talking about?
What work is he doing?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And yeah, and in what way is this work putting him in front of athletes who like need to be inspired? And the only way I found that works is to bring up the brave men and women that serve our country.
Oh my god.
And honestly, if you made it to that point in your military career that you are a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger or special, any of these special forces branches, you probably did some wild shit.
Yes, much respect.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have some in my family.
Yes.
And it sounds like dog shit. I can't believe that these people go through that shit.
I'm sure you've suffered greatly,
but I think that's like a stretch. to claim,
but you probably don't know shit about investing.
The work that you're doing with athletes, whatever this work is,
and
is that somehow the only way to get through to them is to bring up
talk about some shit you did in Afghanistan, in Bosnia and Kosovo. I don't know if it's gonna help. I don't know if it's gonna.
I gotta know, dude. What is going on? And that he couldn't be more specific.
He just said I'm doing some work.
About the work that he's doing.
How do you?
Because if it was interesting, you should talk more about it.
Really brilliant on his part, because how would anyone even go about verifying that in any way? You can't interview everyone involved in the NBA.
I've been doing. Did he mention a sport even?
He just said the NBA.
Oh, he said the NBA.
He did say the league.
Specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he said the NBA.
That's even better. Because then it's like
exactly the fuck what.
The National Basketball Association is. It got in a boardroom somewhere. All these people are talking about what could we do.
They're like, I've called in Andrew Huberman.
Look, we've got this guy. He's good. He's gonna make. What is he doing?
I don't.
What? How was that even set up?
He's gonna help us work on our passing. He's gonna help us figure out when to crowd the paint, when to do full court press.
Our players like, because
Simmons
is he a therapist?
He's gonna help Ben Simmons get his 3-point shot.
Is he giving TED Talks to the teams?
I don't know. He's just doing presentations on He's just showing them Mark Wahlberg movies and shit.
Basketball teams are all privately owned.
Yes, they are.
So they all kind of just do whatever the fuck they want with their own teams, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
The NBA gathers the whole league.
There is. I'm gonna go.
Like, we've got this guy.
There is no fucking way he works for anyone in the NBA doing anything.
Holy shit.
He probably had some dumb motherfucker that plays in the NBA like was in his DMs one time, and he like talked to him about something.
That's what I'm trying, because you know how these stories. Usually it's like you can pinpoint, they're like, okay, this was what actually happened, and this is how the story has blown up to now where they tell it to make it sound important.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I wonder if it was just like some guy that knows who's the guy that owns the Mavericks or whatever?
Mark Cuban.
Some guy he knows rubbed shoulders with Mark Cuban and was like, yeah, Mark actually was considering something about
bringing you in, maybe,
or just like he wants to make his players mentally tough or something.
Yes,
and which was probably
honestly,
a lie.
It was probably Mark Cuban. It probably was Mark Cuban.
The guy's a celebrity in his own
fucking
way.
dumbass.
God, so I wonder if it's something like that, and then it didn't even actually come to fruition, and now he's like, I'm actually employed by the NBA.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny if we're way off base and he actually is somehow doing work.
Please
for them,
prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. You're not going to, Andrew.
God
wherever
damn.
you are.
That is so funny. I I gotta see that clip, man. Maybe I'll fucking watch that whole episode of Joe Rogan.
It's real.
I gotta, because I don't know much about this guy. Other than that, he is showing up a lot more in my feed.
Dive in,
regardless
Dive
of
in.
of what I
and
see.
be prepared. He's a little more clever than Jordan Peterson, as far as like mixing in some shit that sounds more scientific to add some. He's learned. The retards are getting smarter a little bit about
grifters.
Yeah, the grifters about like how to cover their tracks a little bit and make it sound a little more legit, like it's coming from a place of actual like empirical evidence and stuff like that. But it is bullshit. He is so full of shit.
Well, it's Jordan Peterson. It was hard for him to do anything like that because he is just incapable of just saying anything concisely. Like you could just be like, the studies show, but he's more just like, well, on a critical analysis of all of the literature combined into a sort of you create
a sort of prism, a lens that you view the world through.
And because he just has to make everything try to sound so complicated, like his "Do you believe in God" rants are fucking god tier, like just bullshitting because it's like, well, you have to break it all down. What do you mean?
God?
What do you mean by what? What do you mean by do? And what does you mean in this context? And believe. And God, when you break down every word,
he's like a psychopath.
It's just
you
like,
see on the
no,
street.
that's not how language works. You dumbass. Like, the man talking about religion is embarrassing, and I can't believe that people are like claiming in YouTube comments that they became Christian because Jordan Peterson like talked about the Bible and
like,
shit.
Perfect, you'll fit right in.
Oh, fuck you. Damn, he is spot on.
Excellent.
Oh, fuck.
You have found your people.
Oh my god. Yeah, man, that is crazy.
Yeah. Wittgenstein. I don't know if that's how you say it. Wittgenstein, maybe. That's the only philosopher I've ever fucked with, really. That I always thought was cool. And his whole thing was just really he just said one thing like that kind of summed up his whole philosophy, which is so hard to do, and that's how you know you're onto something, I think, when you can. And he said, if you can't state something clearly, like if you can't explain it clearly in words, then that thing does not exist. Like it isn't real if you can't explain it clearly.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's dope.
That's nice.
And it's a way to cut through a lot of bullshit.
Plays into the scientific theory well, even because if you don't have the tools or the evidence to
explain it, then you shouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think that's dope. Yeah. I like that. And he's cool too. He wrote a whole book. It's like a very complicated philosophical thing. Then like at an early age and became like a big shot in all those scenes and stuff. And then when he was older, he wrote a book denying every point he had ever made in the original book. Basically just saying like, this is why that's all bullshit. Damn. So he just was like, yeah, really cool guy. But
that's pretty wild. I would like to read both of those then.
They're tough. They don't make a lot of sense to me for the most part. That's why I just went with that one phrase.
You're like, I like that though.
Because I'm trying to follow that advice and not talk about shit I don't.
Which is all I do. Say things confidently about things I have no right.
Well, it's more fun to not know sometimes. It's more fun to talk about shit.
This whole podcast is us being casual fans.
This is an MMA podcast. This is an MMA podcast.
This is us not knowing what the fuck.
We have to talk about
Vergara
versus
Lacerda.
Yes. Well, good job. Vergara versus Lacerda.
This hands down the best fight that I